Pizza di patate. Potato pizza. This is one of my all-time favorite Italian recipes. When I was staying with my cousins in Italy, we would go down to the bakery almost every day to pick up a slice for breakfast. Pizza for breakfast? Who knew? I think we all did. It's the best breakfast. We're going to start with a biga. Biga is a pre-ferment. It does take a little bit of extra time, but it not only improves the flavor, but the texture of the dough, and it is so worth it. To a container, add 500 grams, 4 cups of tipo 00 flour. Then add in 1 gram, half a teaspoon of yeast. I'm just using a quick instant yeast, but if you're using a yeast that needs to be activated, add it to your water first. Then add in 250 grams or 1 cup of water. Mine is room temperature, but if you're using a yeast that needs activating, make sure your water is slightly warm. Then start to mix it together. Once it looks a little bit shaggy, get in there with your hands. This isn't going to come together into a perfect dough at this point. We just want to try and moisten as much of the flour as we can. If you've got larger pieces of your dough like this, just split them up. It gives the biga more of a chance to rise up and doesn't have to work so hard. As the biga sits, the flour will absorb more of the water and it will become more dough-like, although it will still be pretty shaggy. You can let this sit out at room temperature for 16 to 20 hours or in the refrigerator for up to 48 hours. The longer it ferments, the more flavor you're going to get. After 16 to 20 hours, your biga should look something like this. You'll start to see some air bubbles. It will start to look a little bit more like a dough, but it will still be a bit shaggy. It should have a sweet aroma and smell a little bit like yeasty bread.
I would highly recommend using a stand mixer or a hand mixer with dough hooks at the very least for this recipe.
Scrape your biga into a large bowl, and you can see there's still quite a bit of dry, floury bits, and that's okay. Just make sure you get it all in there. And you'll need 200 grams, about 7/8 cups of water. I'm going to start by adding just half of it and adding the rest once I've started mixing it together.
Once the first lot of water has been absorbed, add in half of the remaining water. Then add in the last addition of water.
I do like to scrape down the sides about halfway through and the bottom to make sure that there's no dry bits of biga still hanging around.
Now slowly add in 45 grams or 6 tablespoons of the tipo 00 flour. You'll want to knead this dough for about 8 to 10 minutes. You can see the dough is now starting to pull away from the sides of the bowl. This is what we want. So if this isn't happening for you, adjust your flour or water ratios. You could add in a little bit of either at this point to adjust the texture of the dough. You can see the dough is really soft and silky. It's still a bit sticky, but it holds up pretty well when you pull it out of the bowl. That shows us we've really developed that gluten.
I'm going to lightly oil my work surface and my hands, and just give the dough a few slap and folds. You do this by going in the middle of the dough and picking it up and folding it over on itself. You may need to add a little more oil to your hands because it is quite sticky. But that stickiness is going to give us that really tender, beautiful dough. And you can see it's coming together really nicely now.
Add it into a container that's been lined with oil and drizzle a little bit more on top. Then cover it up and set it aside.
Set it aside for another 60 to 90 minutes. You'll want this to double in size, so if your kitchen is quite cold, it might need up to 2 hours.
Let's prepare our potatoes. Thinly slice 1 large or 2 medium potatoes.
I'd recommend using a thin-skinned, waxy potato sliced as thin as you possibly can. But if you only have potatoes with a thick skin on it, I would recommend peeling them. And I'm using a mandolin because I have little clumsy fingers and I don't want to slice them off. Add your potatoes to a bowl of cold water. This not only keeps them from browning, but it also helps them cook quicker once they're on the pizza. You can do this up to 24 hours in advance, but 1 or 2 hours is plenty. And I just give them a little swish so that they're not stuck together and every bit of potato has some water on it. You'll want to now split your dough into 2 pieces. This amount of dough will make 2 potato pizzas. If you don't want to make both right now, you could refrigerate or freeze the other half of the dough. I've put a little bit more oil on my hands, and I'm just going to take the ball out so that I can start to shape it. We're going to do very similar to the slap and folds we did earlier, just folding the dough over itself to start. And again, keep your fingers oiled as needed. And then you're just going to start gently pulling the dough across the counter. This will help to form tension on the top of the dough and help it to keep its round shape. You want to be delicate with it and be careful to try to not rip the top of the dough as you're pulling it. Because this is a high hydration dough, it can feel a little bit difficult to work with, but just trust the process. You can absolutely do this. The high hydration is what gives us that tender crust and those big bubbles. This gentle twisting motion helps to create that tension, again, just like the folds did. Just keep going until you feel the dough is holding its shape nicely.
Generously oil your baking tray and then transfer the dough to the tray. Add another drizzle of olive oil on the top and spread it over so nothing dries out. Then cover the dough with either a large bowl, or if your tray has high sides, you can use a towel. This will need to prove for a further 2 hours.
When you have about 30 minutes left on your prove, you want to preheat your oven to as hot as it will go. You want to do the preheating because we really want that oven up to temperature when we put the pizza in there. This will make sure we get a nicely cooked bottom and no soggy bits. Now that our dough has doubled once again, we can prepare it in the pan. This is traditionally made in a rectangular pan. I'm using a 1/4 baking tray because my oven is small and that's all that it fits. But you could easily do this in a 9x13 dish with edges on it. Make sure the bottom of your dish is well oiled and then spread the dough all of the way across. I like to drizzle a little more olive oil on the top, and that really helps me to just press it into the corners. That pressing also helps to create some of those bubbles. Set the dough aside while we finish preparing our potatoes.
Drain off your potatoes and give them a good shake in the colander to remove any excess water.
Pop your potatoes on some kitchen towel just to give them a quick dry. They don't have to be perfect, we just don't want them sopping with water. And then place them back into the bowl. Do this with every piece of potato. Give your potatoes a really good drizzle of olive oil. Really good. And then toss them so that they're all coated. Place your potatoes on the dough right to the edges and slightly overlap them. I'm going to show you exactly how to get them nice and crispy in the oven. Don't leave any part of the dough exposed. We want no crust on this pizza.
Now roughly chop about 1 sprig of fresh rosemary. You could use a teaspoon of dried rosemary, but the fresh rosemary really imparts its beautiful oils into the pizza. And you can keep this really rough. It doesn't have to be finely chopped.
Add a good sprinkling of salt to the top of your potatoes. Then sprinkle on your rosemary. And let's get that into the oven. I'm using a pizza stone, and so I've put my tray of pizza directly on top of that. The pizza stone will transfer the heat through the tray so that I get a nice crust on the bottom of my pizza. If you don't have a pizza stone, place the pizza on the bottom of your oven. This will allow for that same heat transfer. After 4 minutes on the bottom of the oven, move it back up to the top for another 8 to 12 minutes or until it's nice and brown. Then set your oven to broil for 30 to 60 seconds, just until you start to see the browning and blistering on your potatoes. Using the pizza stone, I baked mine for about 16 minutes, but you'll want to start watching it at about the 12-minute mark. It's important to watch the color of your pizza because your timings may differ depending on your oven. This can be eaten hot, at room temperature, or cold. But if you want to eat it hot, give it at least 10 minutes once you've removed it from the oven to cool down slightly.
I hope you love this as much as I do.
And if you're looking for something a little bit different, you have to try my focaccia di recco. It's a thin baked flatbread with cheese stuffed in the middle. If you found this video helpful, please head down below, hit the like button or hype if you can, and let me know if you're gonna make this pizza. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.